So, perfect competition is intended to be the most price competitive market structure possible. And if it's the most price competitive market structure, what that means is that consumers buy only on price. So it's so price competitive that consumers base their buying decisions purely on the price of the product. They're always going to buy the cheapest one. So okay, fine. So that's all very lovely, and obviously it's completely unrealistic. There's no market in which that's true. But what we're trying to do is to say, what would a market look like if consumers behave like that? So it's not realistic, and you cannot criticize perfect competition on the basis for being unrealistic. It's supposed to be unrealistic. It's supposed to be a limiting case. But because it's unrealistic, because it's a model, we can only create this. We can't look at the real world. We can only create this there are some, as you'll see in a minute, there are some markets that are a bit like this, but there's nothing that fulfills the complete characteristics of perfect competition. But because it's a model, it therefore needs assumptions. So what is it about a market that would lead to consumers buying only on the basis of price? What is it that would mean that price is the only thing that matters? So what would make you, is there anything where you're only going to, where you would always buy the cheapest one? Let's start thinking about it. What would that look like? The first thing that you'd need is, so these are the assumptions of perfect competition. The first thing that you're going to need, is you're going to need identical products. If you look in a book, this is called homogeneous. Because, as I've said before, we wouldn't want anybody to be able to understand what was going on, would be identical products. Because you're not going to buy the cheapest. If I can say to you, oh no, my tomatoes have extra special vines, my tomatoes are extra red, blah 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 blah. So consumers are faced with a world of identical products. So if you know the products are identical, well, why wouldn't you buy the cheapest one? You would, unless you didn't know. So a second assumption that we're going to make is that consumers are fully informed. We need that because otherwise, there might be a cheaper product available that consumers don't know about, and then they don't buy it, and then we don't have perfect price competition. So I'm going to put price up there. Perfect price competition. It's called perfect competition, but it's perfect in the sense of perfect price competition. So there is no information asymmetry in this market. So why else might I not buy the cheapest? What else might stop me, from buying the cheapest? So the third thing is, maybe if I could buy, I don't know whether I have two identical marker pens, but anyway, if I could buy this one here, and this one was down the road, kind of 100 yards away. I'm very lazy. I'm just going to buy the one that's here. So we need it to be convenient. It's got to be convenient to be able to buy the cheapest. There's got to be loads of availability, and that's why we assume a third assumption is that there are many sellers. There are many firms in the market, so that there's always a convenient option. I'm not going to buy a more expensive one just because it's nearby. And also we assume that there are many buyers. So we create a big competitive market. There's lots of consumers as well. So that's our third assumption. And then lastly, I'm going to move this back a bit. Then lastly, we want to ensure that this situation continues over time. So we also assume that there are no barriers to entry into the market or exit from it. So there's nothing, it can't be the case that existing firms can start ramping up their power and then jacking up prices and becoming more monopoly-like, generating monopoly power, because there's nothing to stop you from breaking into this market. It is fully contestable. It is 100% a contestable market. Which means if I want to enter the market, I can do it like that. No delays, no costs, no nothing. So it would be like, suppose we completely deregulated the taxi market, for transporting people. It's fairly deregulated, but we literally take away all licenses, and then when I get in my car, if I'm going into town, I can just kind of hold out a sign, out of my passenger window, saying taxi on it. Then that market is completely contestable because I was going in. Well, I suppose I'd need to have a car, but you know what I mean. It's a very contestable market, because I was going into town anyway, so I can take on customers. So those are the assumptions that are required, for perfect competition. In addition to the one we've already made for all market structures, which is we're going to assume that firms are going to maximise profits, but that's not distinctive about perfect competition. We're assuming that about firms in all cases. So identical products, so that consumers don't have a reason not to buy the cheapest. Perfect information, so they can always find the cheapest. Many buyers and sellers, so the cheapest is always conveniently available to them, and no barriers to entry or exit. So that this situation continues to be competitive in the long run as well. Quick clarification about the fourth assumption of perfect competition. The fourth assumption was there are no barriers to entry or exit. Just wanted to make it clear that that's only in the long run. In the short run, in all market structures, there is always a barrier to entry, and that barrier comes from the definition in the short run, which is that there is a fixed factor of production. So if there's a fixed factor of production, you can't enter a market because you don't have that factor of production in the short run. In the long run, it's freely available. So when that fourth assumption is, it's quite right, there are no barriers to enter or exit, but you should just clarify that by saying that that's in the long run. It's not that important, but the point is, in the short run, there is always a barrier to enter in every market structure. So it's only as time passes when we enter the long run, that there are no barriers to entry.